Judge Lehman has ruled yes on the Taylor Swift text messages.
That the judge ruled against Blake. This is a massive, massive win for Justin.
He's going to see Blake Lively's communication with Taylor Swift.
Blake Lively's situation has taken a dramatic turn, as the court has now introduced Taylor Swift's private text messages, exposing critical details that have completely upended her case and left her reeling under intense legal and public scrutiny.
Whatever is in those messages, it completely has Blake Lively terrified. So terrified, in fact.
The situation worsened when it was revealed that Taylor Swift personally provided the messages, turning what began as a staged feminist PR move into a full-blown collapse, leaving Blake Lively completely exposed with no one else to shoulder the blame.
And now Judge Lehman has ruled fair game, okay?
Blake Lively will likely never forget the day Judge Louis J. Lehman finally heeded public outcry, granting Justin Baldwin's legal team full access to her private texts with Taylor Swift, completely dismantling her final line of defense and shattering her credibility in the process.
He was fighting, and I mean Blake Lively and Ryan had been fighting tooth and nail not to allow these messages to get into the hands of Team Baldoni. And essentially, they radically filed this protective order, like, no, you cannot.
The internet exploded, dubbing it "I'm Not Your Dragon Day," in reference to the ongoing diss track saga, and while the memes ran wild, the moment carried far more weight than just online humor.
Here's the reason why he is ruling fair game. Scott, if we can pull up page 3 of his ruling, I think is where it is. Guys, don't mind my squint. I swear it's a light, and sometimes it's hard for me to see it. Okay.
This was a complete meltdown, as Blake Lively's carefully constructed empire of PR stunts, faux feminist slogans, and manipulative interviews began collapsing in real time, with Twitter erupting as Lively lied again and Dragon Day Massacre trended, proving that the internet won't stay silent when deception is exposed.
You yourself, because you humble bragged the entire time about your closeness with Taylor Swift, one of your dragons, have now made her relevant. And I love that. I love that. Justice right there is sweet. It's like you grifted too close to the sun, baby girl, you know?
The irony was palpable, as just days earlier Blake's team had been celebrating what they dubbed a legal victory, a supposed win for women, parading it proudly while conveniently hoping no one would check the actual receipts behind their feminist rhetoric.
Lively's team was coming out there trotting out a win for feminists. They were like, we did this for women everywhere. Blech. Literally, it made me want to throw up when I read that.
The truth, however, was that the headlines were misleading. The supposed victory only applied to the defamation charges against the New York Times, not Blake, Ryan Reynolds, her PR team, or the core of the case. But she skillfully spun it anyway, issuing press releases that cast her as the Joan of Arc of bogus lawsuits, briefly convincing some of the public.
Was out there doing the absolute most, claiming victory. Oh, I've been vindicated. I'm a wonderful person. Just forget about everything that you guys read. Her PR agents were so desperate to make the public believe.
Judge Lehman, however, saw through the spin, emphasizing that Taylor Swift's messages with Blake were far from trivial gossip. They were central to the case, especially since Blake herself had repeatedly involved Taylor, bragging about her support and name-dropping her in filings, interviews, and on the red carpet, making it unsurprising that the court now demanded to examine those private texts.
Whatever is in those messages, it completely has Blake Lively terrified. So terrified, in fact, that according to Scott Swift, she specifically asked Taylor Swift to delete some messages, and Taylor Swift would not have done that because she is not an idiot.
To be clear, Judge Lehman didn't act recklessly. He recognized the PR risks and potential for leaks aimed at shaping narratives, yet he emphasized that such concerns weren't sufficient to block legitimate discovery, noting that a protective order ensures Justin's team isn't posting anything online. They're simply building a case, and that reality is precisely why Blake is spiraling.
A massive win for Justin Baldoni, as the judge has just ruled on today, I'm Not Your Dragon Day, that Taylor Swift's texts to Blake Lively are irrelevant.
Baldwin's legal team had requested the texts before July 1st to prepare their amended complaint and depositions, aiming to catch Blake in contradictions. But Judge Lehman denied the early request, likely to give both sides breathing room. Yet Blake's meltdown wasn't averted, only postponed, as she still faces the inevitability of handing over those messages, which is tormenting her.
Requests for messages with Swift regarding the film and this action are reasonably tailored to discover information that would prove or disprove Lively's harassment and retaliation claim.
Legal analysts are already predicting this could be the turning point. If Blake's messages reveal exaggeration, twisted facts, or outright lies about harassment or retaliation, malice could be established, allowing Justin's team to revive defamation charges on appeal, a move that seems justified given the manipulation and narrative engineering at play. Meanwhile, Blake's June 10th PR stunt, where she claimed full vindication for all women and spun the partial dismissal of the New York Times portion into a heroic redemption arc, completely backfired, as the truth is the NYT's case was dismissed due to historical CIA ties, not Blake's innocence, and even Candace Owens publicly dismantled the narrative, leaving Blake's attempt at a triumph laughable and exposing her spin for what it really was.
About this case is that the Justin Baldoni hit piece originated from the CIA-protected New York Times. So on June 10th, I wasn't shocked when Judge Lehman did what always happens in these matters pertaining to the New York Times/CIA lawsuits. He entirely dismissed the lawsuit against the New York Times, and then he necessarily had to dismiss any of the repeated claims that were in Blake Lively's filings.
And now the media has completely turned on her. Cosmopolitan, Deadline, and Marie Claire all slammed Blake's celebration as premature and misleading, with Marie Claire, once a staunch supporter, publishing that Taylor Swift is furious, believing Blake exploited her for clout, and, to make matters worse, that infamous dragon message has leaked, adding fuel to the fire.
The most important thing of all of this, because I hear all the time people say, Justin dragged her into this. No, I think Blake did, and starting with that dragon text. Calling her, little monster.
Blake Lively literally called Taylor her dragon, as if she were some magical bodyguard protecting her from every consequence. Weaponizing friendship in legal filings, she cloaked herself in feminism, used Taylor as a shield, and deployed PR firms to spread half-truths, crafting the illusion of victimhood. But now that facade is crumbling, revealing not a feminist icon, but a bitter, calculating opportunist who thought she could fake her way through a $400 million lawsuit by playing martyr.
And she would not have deleted them. She would have shown them to a lawyer, showed it to a PR, showed it to Daddy Swift, and they would have said, hold on, when somebody is asking you to commit a crime, you don't.
And if you think Blake Lively still has this under control, think again. Once those texts are released and Baldwin's team matches them against her filings, interviews, and public statements, it's game over. The public isn't blind, the courts aren't fooled, and this isn't cancel culture. It's truth, and finally, for the first time, Blake can't buy, spin, or tweet her way out of it. She's done. And she doesn't even realize how completely cooked she is.
Did all of that, and that's why Taylor's not supporting her anymore.
Funny enough, Blake Lively fought harder to keep her text messages with Taylor Swift hidden than she ever did to prove any actual harassment, waging war to block anyone from seeing the private chats with the very same Taylor she had flaunted throughout her fake feminist PR tour. And the moment the court got too close, she started throwing protective orders around like confetti.
From everything that we're seeing, it's becoming clearer and clearer that Taylor Swift is crying out to the world, no, I am not your drag.
Blake even dragged Taylor's legal team into the mess to try to stem the damage. But the truth is, when you're innocent, you don't fight this fiercely to hide evidence. You show it off and say, see, I told you so. Instead, Blake ran. In Toro 17, Blake is terrified, not of losing the case, but of being exposed. Rumors suggest Scott Swift, Taylor's father, quietly handed over specific dates and topics of the texts Blake tried to hide. Sources say Blake begged Taylor to delete messages, one moment calling her dragon, the next pleading for obstruction of justice. That's not friendship, that's criminal desperation. And Taylor didn't comply because, unlike Blake, she actually has a brain and a brand worth protecting.
Could be very interesting. This is kind of a trap for Blake Lively, if you ask me.
If even one of those texts shows Blake attempting to get Taylor to delete evidence, it's not just embarrassing, it's criminal. That's obstruction, that's tampering, and it's exactly what Justin Baldwin's legal team needs to resurrect the defamation and extortion charges on appeal. She's not just facing public shame, she's staring down potential felony exposure. Honestly, it's deserved. Blake constructed a harassment narrative like it was a Netflix script, expecting no one would ever ask to see the behind-the-scenes receipts.
The alleged that came in allegedly from Taylor Swift's own father is where the source declares.
Even if no messages were deleted, the texts alone could still destroy Blake. If Taylor's messages contradict anything Blake said in interviews, press appearances, or court filings, her entire story looks like a massive PR stunt, crafted to sabotage Justin and seize control. This wasn't about safety or workplace culture. It was about power and ownership, and Blake tried to manipulate her way into both. Ironically, her own boasts, interviews, and social media activity made Taylor's texts legally admissible in the first place. Justin didn't involve Taylor. Blake did, loudly and repeatedly, and now it's hitting her squarely in her overinflated Hollywood ego.
The judge approved that this evidence is important to the case, and he said to Blake Lively, you have to show the texts and the communication with Taylor Swift that you have regarding everything It Ends With Us related.
But things get even murkier when you look at Judge Louis J. Lehman, the man presiding over this legal circus. His brother, Noah Lehman, is reportedly connected to a company called Graywave Consulting LLC. And guess what? Graywave has allegedly been receiving consulting payments during this litigation from entities tied to Blake's PR machine. It's like suing your neighbor while their cousin happens to be the judge. Conflict of interest much? Naturally, people started calling for Judge Lehman to recuse himself, but he didn't. He stayed on like nothing was wrong. Then suddenly, the Taylor Swift text ruling drops, and it reeks of damage control. Maybe he's trying to look neutral after the backlash, especially considering this is the same judge who dismissed the defamation charges against the CIA-protected New York Times, only to approve discovery into Blake's texts right after the criticism hit. It feels like someone's scrambling to save face.
But Blake Lively was lying during the whole PR tour, saying that Taylor Swift was with her the entire time. If they didn't have any communication about It Ends With Us.
Legal experts are already whispering about the timing, the optics, and the deeper implications of all this. If more links surface between Judge Lehman and Blake's team, especially financial ones, this could explode into a full-blown judicial misconduct investigation. At this point, Blake's entire case feels like it's being held together with duct tape and illusion. One confirmed ethics violation, and the whole thing collapses. But just when you think it couldn't possibly get more corrupt, in comes Dr. Leslie Dobson, Blake's unofficial mouthpiece and self-proclaimed psychologist turned rumor factory. This woman allegedly sent out fake HR complaints to YouTubers and journalists, claiming they were from Sony, accusing Justin Baldwin of misconduct dating back to college. No evidence. No witnesses. Just fabricated claims meant to destroy reputations. Donna Bowling, host of Daily Dose of Donna, even revealed she received one of these bogus letters, supposedly from Sony, only to later discover it was completely fake. And here's where things take a dangerous legal turn. Dobson's name reportedly appears in sealed court filings, and now Justin's legal team is demanding full disclosure of every communication between Blake's camp and Dobson. If any coordination is proven between Blake's legal circle and that smear campaign, this isn't just unethical, it's fraud. It's calculated character assassination. And it could land Blake's team in serious legal jeopardy.
The judge just did, in my view, was to protect the CIA.
At this point, it's hard to be surprised. Blake Lively's team hasn't been defending her in court. They've been waging a media war, relying on leaks, half-truths, and opportunists to try and drown Justin Baldwin in public opinion. But those tactics are now boomeranging. Dr. Leslie Dobson's fabrications are being exposed. Fake HR complaints are now part of the evidence, and the deeper investigators dig, the clearer it becomes that Blake's camp constructed this entire case on misinformation rather than facts. The walls are closing in fast. Blake is out of stunts, out of distractions, and all that remains is the truth, which, judging by how desperately she tried to bury it, isn't going to cast her as heroic. The Blake Lively brand was meticulously curated, filtered, and staged, but now we see what happens when that carefully polished image is stripped away. With no publicist in the courtroom, no Vogue photo shoot to soften the headlines, only evidence, facts, and truth remain, and it's unflinchingly brutal.
Finally did something in favor of Justin Baldoni. We are going to see, or maybe not we, but at least Justin Baldoni's lawyer and his team is going to see Blake Lively's communication with Taylor Swift.
Blake Lively's downfall has become undeniable, and she brought it on herself by lying, weaponizing Taylor Swift, faking legal victories, and turning the courtroom into a PR stage. She thought she was untouchable, that everyone would buy the fantasy, but now she's trapped in her own illusion, and reality doesn't care about Instagram perfect poses. Insiders reveal she allegedly threatened Taylor Swift, attempting to coerce her into publicly supporting Blake's harassment claims against Justin Baldon, essentially committing blackmail. Taylor, guided by her father Scott Swift and her legal team, refused, proving she's a billion-dollar brand and the only adult in this circus. The tipping point arrives on June 23, 2025, when Baldon's amended complaint drops, now including Taylor's texts with court approval from Judge Lehman, exposing Blake's lies with timestamps. This is more than a public relations disaster. Blake's legal team now faces potential sanctions for perjury, witness tampering, and coordinating misinformation, risking real legal consequences. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift silently cooperates with the court, letting the law do the work while Blake crumbles. Adding fuel to the fire, the diss track, I'm Not Your Dragon, written from Taylor and Justin's perspective, goes viral, becoming the anthem of Blake Lively's downfall, catchy, cutting, and unrelenting.
Blake Lively wanted the rights to the movie, and she was extorting them, saying that you give me what I want or I will go public with claims of sexual harassment, allegedly.
The diss track isn't just music, it's a cultural reckoning, with fans amplifying every line as a response to Blake Lively's fake feminist facade. It's become a pop culture tombstone, a sparkling epitaph of her downfall, with her name etched in glitter and shame for all to see.
It started with us, it ended with you. So many chapters that I didn't choose.
Blake Lively's attempt to weaponize Taylor Swift as legal armor spectacularly backfired, turning her into the villain of a viral revenge anthem that no PR team could spin. In both the court of law and public opinion, she's being burned alive. Every week more evidence emerges, every article paints her in a harsher light, and every narrative she tried to control slips through her fingers. She lit the match herself, and now she's engulfed in the flames of her own making, facing a scorching spotlight that even Ryan Reynolds can't shield her from.